things first, and I'll go slowly. You can ask me questions, as I said, anytime. All right?
Okay, sure.
Yeah, this is the overall thing which I would be going through in the initial stages. We would look at who a participant is, what's an organization, how do you define an organization, how do you model an organization, various types of organizations that are available for you. Then I go with the organization model as a simple example. Model the various factors that are included in the organization. What is the role played by an organization? Then what is an enterprise? What is a catalog? Catalog organization, inventory organization, capacity organization. These are some of the things which I would be talking about. And at any point in time, we'll be looking at all this with the help of some examples, so that you have a better idea when you actually start working on the software. Okay? So let us begin with the basic thing as a participant. See, and if I take an example, I'll start with an example. Let's say an example like Walmart. The goods in Walmart keep coming, which are replenished as and when the goods fall below a certain level. The goods fall below a certain level because of various users who would be looking at these goods. We term them as participants and give them some roles to play. When we give them some roles, we also define the relationship of these people with the organization. Here I'm talking not just of the participants. When I speak about participants, it's not just the users who are going to look at, but it's the individual who is going to play an important role, a role in the supply chain. And what exactly the role is being played by the individual, we'll be looking at it. Now look at this figure down. There is a set of suppliers. These suppliers, they send the raw material, they send the basic material to the manufacturer, who manufactures these using these material into some basic components. They are sent to the wholesale distributors. That the wholesale distributor identifies the various outlets in the city, and he sends all these to the retailers. Now the retailers, they put it in the basic outlets which are consumed by the consumer or the customer. Now when the customer buys some things, there is a revenue flow. The revenue flow goes back in the reverse direction, right from the customer level. It keeps on going back till it comes to the supplier level. At any point in time, the revenue is also there in the manufacturer, in the wholesale distributor, in the retailers, and so on. So we define each one of them and what are the roles that they play. They all belong to the same organization, or maybe they belong to different organizations. Right on day one, I told you an example of ITI. The ITI is a manufacturer of the telephones. The supplier, he supplies basic things to ITI. The manufacturer manufactures the telephones. He sends it to the wholesale distributor, who sends it to the retailers, and then the consumer. So organization modeling is the primary thing that you need to define. What is the hierarchy of an organization? And that is being done in Sterling. And when I do it in Sterling, I actually fulfill my basic things, because that is where I start from. So I start from the organization modeling. Once I have the organization modeling done, we start going, it becomes easier for us to distribute the various levels that are found in the movement of goods from the supplier to the customer. See, there's a basic, another example. There's Nokia supply chain. The supplier is Nokia supplier. He sends all the goods to the Nokia's plant. The Nokia plant manufactures, sends it to the distribution center. The distribution center sends it to the retailers like Sangeeta, Universal, and so on. And you and me, we go to these retailers to buy the phones. And you'll see also the revenue flowing back in the same direction, the reverse direction. So this is the participant modeling. You need to define how the entire system works. As I said, it could belong to the same organization, or it could be belonging to a different organization. But the supplier supplies all these things to the manufacturer. The organization, in this example, we took Nokia. Let us see how the organization is defined. Now, the organization is defined in terms of the hierarchy of the business group. There can be multiple companies in a business group. Let's say if I take telephones, there could be multiple types of telephones. There could be, if you take the mobiles, there are multitudes of mobiles today. Earlier, it was not like this. So these multitudes, they belong to multiple companies. Now, each company has its own hierarchy. It's independent of other companies. Companies could be under the same business group, but it's not necessary that they should have the same hierarchy. Companies can have units in different countries, and these units are governed by the laws of that particular country where they are situated. There are so many examples. We have Infosys, headquartered in Bangalore, but distributed all over the world. And the rules of that country applies to the company which is situated there. Different units play different roles. The supplier, he has a particular role to play. The distributor, he has a different role. And there can also be different types of units, like we have a purchasing unit, a unit which purchases the raw materials. We have a storing unit, which is otherwise called as a warehouse. Like this, we have selling unit and different types of manufacturing units and so on. Depending upon the type of product that is coming out, you can have different types of units, right from the raw material till the finished good. The business group, let's take this, the organization model. The business group is, let's say, Infosys, okay? Or you can call it as, let's say, HCL, for example. Anything what you want. So the company is defined in different forms. Earlier, we had NIT as a part of HCL, and the organization had the business group had two different units. One was NIT, the other one was HCL. There was a legal entity, whether it was in HCL America or HCL Asia Pacific. The purchasing organization in America could be called as something else, and in Asia Pacific it could be called as something else. Depending upon how you define the hierarchy, the company is modeled on it. The organization is modeled. The same company modeling features need not be there in all companies. In this case, if I take HCL, they don't have to have the same hierarchy defined. Depending upon what type of role they play, depending upon what location they are situated, depending on how you define the activities based in that location, under that brand, you need to define or model the organization. And here we have a purchasing organization is purchasing North America. purchasing Asia Pacific. Sales could be electronic, belonging to North America, or entertainment, belonging also to North America. The location, the electronics could be in one location, the entertainment could be in different forms, music, movie, and so on and so forth. Each one of them could have their own ideas, their own roles, their own type of hierarchy defined. They are separate units. So we have the business group is typically the highest level in the organization hierarchy. It may contain one or more companies. A company represents a global brand name and is the organizational unit. It has its own financial statements created according to relevant legal requirements. It can have more than, as usual, more than one entity. A legal entity represents an organization unit identified by local governments, local to that particular country. So when you define an organization, which is your primary task in Sterling, you need to define all this. It has to have a business group belonging to a business group. It should be a company defined, represented, and it should be a legal entity that is available in that particular country where it is situated. A sales organization is responsible for sales and distribution of the various products. A purchasing organization will be primarily involved in purchasing or placing purchase orders to vendors, replenish the raw materials, and so on. The plant and the warehouse are physical locations where goods are manufactured or stored during distribution. So we need to have all these defined in Sterling. Especially when you look at order management, you need to define these so that you know that an order is created, a purchase order is created. And what is the purchase order created for? It is created for the requirements of a manufacturing unit. So the raw materials have to be brought in. So a purchase order is raised. The raw materials come, they are stored in the warehouse. From the warehouse, before the warehouse could be even for items which are finished products or even before they are manufactured. You could store it. It's a storing unit. Then from the warehouse, it goes to the plant level where the raw material is taken, manufactured under certain specifications, under certain quality, stringent conditions, and so on, so that it meets the end result. And then it is kept back in the warehouse for distribution. From there, it gets distributed to the retailers, and from the retailers, you make the purchase. So that particular scenario is followed in Sterling. So look at this. The business group could be called as Tata Group or Birla. Now Tata has so many units under it. These units are defined as companies. So we have Tata Chrome, then Tata Group of Hotels, Docomo, Tata Tea, and so on. Each one of them has also different, there are so many of them. So we have TCS, then website, Tata Motors, and so on. Now under Tata Motors, we have Tata Motors India and Tata Motors Europe. These are called as legal entities. Tata Motors India is governed by the rules, regulations that are present in the country India, while Europe belongs to that. Now, the legal entity Tata Motors India will have the Tata Motors plant at Pune, which is called the purchasing organization. Then we have the warehouse unit, which is called as the warehouse state, which is there in Hosur. And all these we have, apart from these, we have the showrooms for Tata, the finished product, that is the seller organization. So when I define the organization model, I need to define in this form. Sterling takes in the business group, the company, the legal entities, and the other basic things which are available. That is the basic thing which you need to understand first. Now, in Sterling, these are called by the following names. Hub. The hub is the head of the business. That's a business leader. In the previous one, we called it as Tata. This shows that the organization owns the entire system. Now, Tata owns the entire system, which you saw. It has so many other companies associated with it. There can be only one hub per installation, and hub is the business group. That is the topmost level. The enterprise is the next level. Here, enterprise is equal to the company, is equivalent to that company which is defined. So in Sterling, we call the company as an enterprise. It defines the rules under which the organization plays. The buyer is the organization which places the order with others to get the raw material. So there is a person who buys the raw material, sends it to the production unit. Out comes the product that is stored and distributed. So these names, hub, enterprise, and buyer, are the three things which is centered down in Sterling. Then we have the seller. That's the organization which sells the goods to generate the carrier, which carries or any form. It carries. We have the node, where the node is something like the warehouse. It is a physical location. So we have seller, we have carrier, and we have nodes. So the same thing is now written in the Sterling language. In Sterling language, we have hub, which is the topmost level. We have the enterprise, which is the companies. We have the legal entity that belongs to the various things which you have seen. Legal entity in India, legal entity in Europe, and so on. Then we have the buyer, we have the node, and we have the seller. The node is the place from where we distribute, the warehouse from where we distribute. So these are the forms which Sterling absorbs, which Sterling takes in, and these are to be defined before you actually start working on the software. An organization, when you would know what an organization is, but I would like you to understand that it represents a unit of a business. Either it could be a company, a legal entity, or a business group, sales organization, or anything. In addition to assigning organization roles, an organization can also be designated to have the following responsibilities: catalog, inventory, capacity, and an enterprise. So each one of these needs to be understood. The differences between them needs to be understood before you actually start the work. This is the configuration that you need to do before you actually begin the execution of the system. So an enterprise represents an organization that owns and controls all transactions. So Tata is an enterprise. An enterprise controls the flow of the different processes, whether it's from the supplier or to the buyer or anywhere else, the enterprise controls the entire flow. It defines most of the business rules and the fulfillment. The fulfillment processes, any business rule or every business rule is completed using the business rules that are executed. Let's look at this. We have McDonald's India defined all the business rules, fulfillment process, defines all the transactions. So McDonald's have already defined some basic things in the US. So when they came to India, they redefined according to the Indian conditions, but following the same type of hierarchy which was followed there with minor changes as suited to the Indian conditions. A catalog organization. A catalog organization is one where the item master is defined. When you talk about item master, we talk about the what type of item is defined, configured at that level, so that all the other organizations can use this. Now, when you work on Sterling, you will find that the catalog will have certain names associated. For example, if I talk about 007, immediately you realize who it is, what it is, if it's a product. So here we talk about a catalog wherein the names are identified, specific unique names, so that the moment you say it is A111, immediately the system knows what it is. Typically, it's designated at the company level, so that as you know that the company, the hub, is the topmost. It controls the entire thing, and we have different companies associated. So each company has its own bata shoes, which defines all types of shoes. That's the item. All other organizations under bata will use the same item definitions for selling, purchasing, or storing purposes. So that if you want to replenish the item, immediately you need to just look at the catalog, and the appropriate name is identified, sent to the unit from where you could make the purchase for delivery. Inventory, as the name is, of items that are available presently at the organization. You need to identify anytime, every time, how much inventory of the particular item is there. You know that if it falls below a certain level. So at any time, you need to have control. Now, typically, the inventory organization at the entity level. Because at the entity level, the entity, as you saw, it could be in India, it is sent for manufacturers India, manufacturers Bangladesh, an organization of Hello. In this example, I have Bata Shoes with two legal entities, Bata Shoes India and in Bangladesh. And you can check the total availability of shoes in India. But this cannot check the availability of a particular set of shoes in Bangladesh. So, as this definition itself says, all these rules are governed by the local government which is there. Called as a capacity organization, where it is the total availability of all the resources. You need to consolidate what is the availability of all the resources, the capacity information that is there, which enables a person or which enables someone to be involved, to be associated with this. Here, all organizations are a part of the same capacity, and a visibility to the capacity of all resources that belong to this particular capacity organization. So again, here we have the same feature that if you look at the capacity organization of Bata Shoes in India, it gives you details. Bangladesh, it gives the respective details.
No, sir, actually, yeah.
Need to do as you start with the Sterling OMS, the order management system. So these basic things have to be understood before you actually start working on it. And I think if your colleague can also come over at the earliest, so where we could start with the actual hands-on on the system. What do you say, Mr. Rao?